Okay, guys, we got to be honest here. You all know by now that RentRedi is an awesome property management software that Corey and I use to elevate our business on multiple levels between being landlords and managing our tenants. But this isn't just an old podcast ad about how you can manage all your units, maintenance, screening, leases, tenants, and using RentRedi's mobile app. This podcast ad is a secret. That's because this month, RentRedi is releasing a game-changing feature that will save you a whole lot of time and headache when it comes to crunching numbers on your rentals. While we can't share it just yet, make sure you stay tuned to our show, The Weekly Juice, for the surprise reveal. Because we have it on good authority that RentRedi will be letting our listeners know once this top secret feature is ready to go. In the meantime, if you're looking to get started using RentRedi's powerhouse of a platform and get signed up, saving 50% off any RentRedi plan, you'll just have to use the code JUICEPOD. That's JUICEPOD on their website. That's 50% off any RentRedi plan when you sign up using our code JUICEPOD at rentredi.com. Go to rentredi.com and use code JUICEPOD, JUICEPOD, for 50% off any RentRedi plan. If this is your first time here, welcome. During our shows, we interview successful entrepreneurs and investors to spread knowledge, advice, and actionable tactics to help others in the pursuit of financial freedom. We discuss successes, failures, systems, motivations, experiences, and key lessons learned along the way in the hopes that these stories help you along your journey. Tune in every Wednesday to get your weekly juice. If you've been here before and like what you've been hearing, please subscribe, share with friends, rate and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. That goes an extremely long way for us. It's simple. Just click on your podcast app, type in our podcast name, The Weekly Juice, click on the reviews, and let us know what you think. The more ratings we get, the more eyes we'll get on our show, and in turn, we'll be able to provide you all with high-quality guests. You can also find us on Instagram at Weekly Juice Pod for daily content and personal finance tips to assist in your journey towards financial freedom. Welcome back to The Weekly Juice, where we talk real estate, personal finance, and entrepreneurship. Ryan and Corey here with another episode for you. Today we had on special guest Zasha Smith. She's a real estate investor in Maui, Hawaii, which is really, really intriguing and exciting to talk about. She just left her job of 10 years working as a civil engineer, and she's a full-time real estate investor now. She has 9 units of her own, and each one of her deals that we walked through, she made $100,000+ on them, which was insane.
She made $150K on one deal, $100K on another deal, another $150K on another deal. And a lot of people think like 9 units, I would think that's not enough to leave your job. Like in an ordinary market, like it's not enough to leave your job, but she does a lot of flips and she sources deals by private money. She's really got a lot going for her, and she's a mom too. So it's like a really relatable story of somebody that is doing this, and with the family and all these other things kind of potentially in the way, and she's crushing it.
Yeah, she found a way to do it and manage her life, right? You always talk about that work-life balance. Like she figured out what she wanted to do. She's put systems in place, put goals in front of her, and she's been absolutely crushing it. I said this before, but like the small but mighty portfolios, like they're taking over, man. Like we talk about, how we don't like doing deals lower than like $400 or $500 in cash flow, right? And she talked about she won't go lower than 500. So I loved that. That was towards the end of the episode we started talking about it. But there are deals out there like that, and it just depends on how you run your numbers, what exit strategies you're going to use for that specific deal. She talked about wholesaling, long-term buy and hold, flip, burr. So if you want kind of a little bit of everything, we touch on
in a hot market. Little bit of everything in a really, really hot market, which people think you can't find deals. So I think we should bring her in.
Let's do it. Well, Zasha, officially welcome to the Weekly Juice podcast. Corey and I are thrilled to have you here. We've been following your story on social for a little while now. You've popped up on Bigger Pockets, and I love that you live and invest around the Maui area in Hawaii. I find it super intriguing. So we're hoping to get your story out here to our listeners. And if you could just kind of give a little background on yourself, who you are, where you're from, how you got into real estate, and if you do this full time now or you still have a job, just give us your whole backstory and dive us in.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. I love to just inspire other people. I grew up here on Maui. I definitely grew up in a single parent household. There was a lot of struggling. And so I lived in the housing, put myself through college, just really, when you come from a smaller town too, you kind of want to get out. So I moved to California for a little bit, and then eventually made my way back home and bought my first house with my mom after I graduated college, and then was a civil engineer for 10 years. And towards the ending, I was kind of falling out of it. It was never my passion. I just knew that I had to, make a living in an expensive market. And so we ended up selling that house, and I was really scared about the taxes, right? When you sell a home and it appreciates so much. Me and my mom both made $150 each. And I was talking to my accountant, and I was like super scared that I had to put away some money for the taxes on it. And she's like, no, because it was your primary residence. You lived there the past 2 out of the 5 years. You don't pay taxes on it.
Right.
So I was like, wow, okay. And that was in 2017. 2018, I was looking for another home. We were renting in between, just trying to figure out where we wanted to live on the island. And I told my husband, hey, if something happens to you or me and we buy this, $700,000-$800,000 home, we might lose it. So after that, we just doing the math on it, we're like, okay, let's try to find a fixer-upper. He's in construction. He's a contractor, plumbing. And he had a few friends, and so he was down to find a fixer-upper on Maui. We did. We bought it around $400,000. We put 80 grand into it. And after that, in 6 months, it appraised for around 750. So after that, I went to the bank and I said, look, we put all this money into the house. How do I get it back out? And they're like, oh, you can do a HELOC or you can refinance. And so from there kind of began my journey of financial literacy, because I didn't really know what it was like to leverage loans and the power of real estate. So that really opened my eyes. And from there, I bought my first flip in 2019, made 100 grand while working.
100 grand?
Yeah. While working my full-time job, did it on the side on the weekends, asked for a lot of help. So that was a lot of sweat equity in that one. But I was only making maybe about 70,000 full-time as a civil engineer, working 60 to 70-hour weeks, just busting my butt to survive and just really prove myself as a project manager. And so after that, my husband gave me the nudge to be like, hey, you can make a lot more doing this. It was a condo, and we did it in 45 days. So it took 30 days to renovate it. And we had an all cash offer that closed within 15 days. So the power of real estate it blows my mind sometimes when I think back to all the benefits it has.
Wow.
And from there, I bought my first rental just to try it out and see, what it was like to be a landlord. And we started with a condo as well, wanted to do something small just in case anything didn't work out. And we ended up inheriting tenants and not putting any money into it and doing, the BRRRR strategy, finding out about that, and eventually got, money back, got a HELOC on it. And so from there, just growing. And now I do it full time. So I just quit my job last year, and I have currently 9 units. My favorite strategy is a BRRRR strategy of just pulling all your money back out or close to it. And then from there, just recycling it, buying more properties. And these are all on Maui. I have yet to venture out of state. So that definitely is a goal moving forward. But yeah.
Very cool. Love the story. Out of state's a little bit different for you, right? You got to go across a whole pond to go out of state, where we invest out of state, but it's like across the Ben Franklin Bridge. So it's not that bad.
It's an hour.
Yeah. But no, that's a really cool story. And it's awesome that you're doing it full time. I'm curious, was it that moment of you getting the $150,000 check that sparked this for you, that made you decide to dive into it? Like that you knew you were going to do it full time? What was it about, your time in real estate investing that made you think that it was like, this is it, I really want to do this?
I think it actually really came after we bought our primary home, and then we refinanced, got all our money back out, and then also got a HELOC on our primary residence, where I think we still had 110 in equity. So, we're able to pull out all this money basically, from not thin air, but from real estate. And so that kind of got me thinking, okay, there's more to this real estate thing that I don't know, that I need to find out. And that's why after that, I started going on Bigger Pockets, just searching the internet as much as I could. I started going to the foreclosure auctions at the courthouse, and really the courthouse auctions are really, I feel like a dog eat dog world. Everybody is kind of me against you. And so that was a little hard to get started on that end, but I did find most of my deals beginning there.
Can you talk to us about the process of finding and buying something at a real estate auction? We've never specifically been to one ourselves, so that'd be really cool to hear.
Yeah, so I know every state is different, but here, when they start the foreclosure process, they post the home in the newspaper, and then from there they have the auction at the courthouse. Then there's a hearing. The highest bidder basically gets to go to the next stage, which is the commissioner's hearing. So there's the first one, which is the auction. Then there's a commissioner's hearing to basically say, okay, this guy gets to buy this foreclosure. However, other people can bid at that second hearing as well. So it gets a little, there's a lot of competition in that aspect. And especially on Maui, because there are fewer deals, everybody it's overcrowded now. But not to say that there isn't deals, you can find them that way. But after that, you basically have 30 days to close. So one of my first deals, I actually was able to get conventional loans in that amount of time and still close on the property. So I know a lot of people have a conception that it needs to be cash, but if timing aligns that you can get a conventional loan or a personal loan in 30 days, then you can definitely do it that way as well.
Oh, that's very cool. I didn't know that you could even do that. And I guess it just that, like you said, that timing, and if you have a loan lined up, it's really just the dollar figure that you're buying. And then however you get the money is how you get the money. So very cool. Would you say that that's the best way for you to find real estate in the Maui area? And the only reason I ask that is because Maui is in comparisons with New York City and San Francisco of some of the hottest markets. And people on the outside looking in think that it's impossible to buy deals. But you're a full-time real estate investor there, so you know different, right?
Yes. So how I mostly find my deals nowadays is through networking and relationships. So I get pocket listings, partner with other investors, referrals from other people who have, relatives going through a certain, distress, or friends. But I try to do, the cold calling and mailers and things like that. But I feel like because this is such a small community, if you know someone, it actually makes it an easier way to find deals.
Very cool. So we know you've done a lot of different, or used a lot of different strategies here. What would you say is your primary strategy or niche that you're focused in on now? Would it be buy and hold, flip, burr? Let us have it. I know you've tried a lot of different things.
Recently, my favorite strategy is definitely burrs. I mean, it has to be a really good deal to work it out. And I'm actually in the process of building 2 ADUs on 2 of my properties. And the permitting process here just takes a while. So it'll probably take like a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
From permitting and then building. So it's not
we were getting frustrated in like 30 days permits here. So that's crazy.
It's crazy. I can tell you right now, I'm still trying to close out an after the fact permit from 2018 from our first house, and it's still not closed out yet. It's 2021. So
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's wild.
Takes a while.
Townships will get you.
So for those who don't know, can you walk us through the burr method, just kind of on an elementary level, and then why you like it so much? And like, I guess the benefits to, a real estate investor that is under 10 units.
Yeah. And if you could share maybe off that, once you explain it, maybe share some numbers on one of your burr deals, like just kind of how that flows.
Okay. So the burr method is basically you buy a home that is 70% all in under market value, including the renovations, closing costs. You rehab it to bring back that value, force appreciation. You rent it out to tenants, basically, and then you refinance. So in essence, if it's 70% under market value, including your renovation costs, a bank will give you refinance that original amount, and hopefully you get all your money back, and then you repeat it. So one project recently that I did, I bought the home for $375, probably put about close to $200,000 in the renovations, and then it appraised around $850. So I was able to refinance all my money back out and then put it into the next project.
Very cool. When you bought that property for, you said 375, is that what you said?
Yeah.
So when you bought it for 375 and put 200 in, are you using your own money to source that deal? To like, did you get did you buy it in cash at 375 and then put, all in for 575 of your own money? How did that work?
I actually got a private money lender. So another investor who does live on Maui, who kind of wants to take a more passive approach to investing, had told me that they were open to it. And so we did that deal together, see how it worked out. And it actually went really well. We're now working on a few other projects together, but those are mostly flips. And he made, his percentage on that. It was a really smooth transaction.
Within that deal, what was the split between you and the partner? Was it an equity deal for long-term, or is it just straight cash flow right out the gate?
So it wasn't an equity deal. He just was a private money lender. So he made a percentage on the money he lent and then got paid back at the refinance.
Perfect.
Got it. Very cool.
That's awesome. So I want to touch on Hawaii living in general, make it a little bit fun here. So I'm super intrigued. I went to Kauai for my honeymoon. It was awesome. It was really quiet and it was a less commercialized island. Can you give us, because I have a bunch of friends and listeners here that have wanted to either go to Hawaii for a honeymoon, potentially like go on a regular vacation. Can you talk about the different islands and then specifically why you love Maui so much? Like, what's the difference between them?
So the most populated island is Oahu. That's where Waikiki is. That's where all, the high story buildings are. There's just a lot of people. I believe there's 1 million people there. And so it does get a little crowded. Maui is the second most popular island, and it has everything. So we have Costco, we have Target, but we also have the beach within 15 minutes basically from anywhere you can get to the beach. It's not too crowded. We don't have any high skyscrapers like Oahu. Kauai is nice. It's definitely more rural. And the other islands, Lanai, Molokai, and Big Island is, the name speaks for itself, but it's the biggest island. However, there's not too much going on there as well. So Maui has a mix of, that laid back lifestyle, but you also have access to technology and everything else that, you would want to do here. You have your family, you can do your work and have the beach.
Got it. Very cool.
I have a cool one. Well, we know a pretty big name investor out in Maui. Haven't met him personally. We've met his, I guess you want to call him partner, co-host, but I'm talking about Brandon Turner specifically. And I know you're connected with Bigger Pockets a little bit. We seen you on the forums. I believe you were on an episode, and then a few of our friends, Alex Camacho, and then Thatch as well. There's a few people that I've seen have either mentored you or you've been in contact with them. Can you just talk about the power of networking and then how you got connected within this, honestly, a powerhouse community, and like how it's helped you in your real estate career?
Yeah. So when I first started, like I said, it was almost like me against you. It's a one investor against another one. And it was really hard to get in with people or feel like you had a team or other people on your side. And so once I had started a mentorship, Ryan Pineda's one, he really opened up my eyes to the power of working together and how you could essentially help one another and partner. And so from there, I really started to take social media seriously and put myself out there. And it was very awkward for me. I was a civil engineer. I didn't really have that extrovert, personality. And so that's why I encourage a lot of people just to, even if it's awkward, even if you don't really like it, the power of social media is great. That's how I connected with Satch, connected with Brandon Turner, David Green, Alex Camacho, the more you put yourself out there, the more you attract, other people, like-minded people.
Couldn't agree more. I think we've learned over the past year and a half that the power of social media we wouldn't be interviewing you if it wasn't, if social media didn't exist. So there's so many different, benefits from just putting your story out there. And Ryan and I had a period of time where we were hesitant to put our story out there. And then we realized after we started doing it that it's like, people want to hear your story. Even if you're young and you're just getting started in the business, they want to hear it, but it also helps them. And that's the biggest impact that we feel like we've had with networking and just meeting cool people. I want to transition the networking into another aspect of networking, which is like building your team, your real estate team. What did you use? Did you use specific networking tactics? How did you, come across contractors, maybe CPAs, lawyers, or real estate agents? Like, how did you go about building your team out there in Maui? Because I know how important that is.
So for contractors, because my husband was already a plumbing contractor and licensed, he had connections and people he was already working with on projects. So we basically used them. And then as far as CPAs or any other professionals in real estate, it was mainly from meetups. So on Bigger Pockets too, I know, a few of people from there have moved to Maui. And so it became a real thing where they came to the meetups and everybody kind of started helping each other and just giving out their contacts and really having that abundance mindset versus, a selfish mindset.
Got it. Very cool. Yeah. Well, so that is kind of the way I feel like that what we've learned to do, to build our team is that Rye has good relationships with people in his regular job that he works with. And then he's parlayed those relationships into somebody who owns a title company and somebody who's a lawyer. And then I met a realtor, and that's how we kind of like joined forces and realized that like the more value that he brought to these people in his full-time job and the more value that we bring by referring people to realtors, is just like, it kind of all comes back full circle. So again, the power of networking, we can't speak enough about it, but I wanted to get into some of the marketing, maybe how you're finding and analyzing these deals. You mentioned one about a $375,000 property, put $200,000 into it, for it to appraise for $850,000, you're getting your money back every time there. The thought is that that's really hard to do in Maui. So like, what are you doing specifically? I understand that you are networking, but is there anything else that you can add on to that you're doing in that area that maybe other people can take and use in their specific markets, maybe around the country?
Definitely. So more so, like I just always like to refer back to social media. That's been the biggest game changer for me. So agents will see me repeatedly posting on my story or making posts about looking for these distressed homes. And that's actually what's helped me the most, getting these referrals and networking, checking with people, making sure that they know I'm still doing deals. I'm still active. I'm buying right now. Let's go. So that's having that action step really has changed things. And now people know, okay, she's consistently buying deals. So if something comes her way, let's just see if this will work for her. And so a lot of investors as well have brought deals because they know that I will follow through and I'm ready.
Very cool. I think a lot of people feel like it's awkward, and right, they don't want to come off as if they're bragging or like putting too much information out there. And we've come to find out, like, putting your story out, and Corey mentioned this before, but like overcoming that fear and putting your story out there on social media, it puts a face to a name, but it also like motivates and inspire others to be like you, might be your age, or just they can relate to you, and they're like, wow, if this person can do it, I think I can do it. And it's more so what we found, and forgive me if I've said this a million times on our show, but when you put your message into the universe, it almost kind of just breaks down a barrier, and people just kind of, I don't know how to explain it the right ways, but basically like they relate to it in a way where it's like two normal people doing something that they never thought they could do. And like, oh yeah, I can totally do
this. It's a relatability factor, right?
Yeah.
They have this sense of, well, those people kind of sound like me or look like me or act like me. And I have this aspect of my life that relates to them. And then they're like, oh, I can do that too. I at least that's what I've found. It's like, it's just a relatability thing. And, you know, we were talking to Tim Bratz, like he had this relatability factor, and it made us feel like, oh, even though he's worth tens of millions of dollars, like there's still some relation here. And it's like, now we can aspire to do things that he does. So I think that's all part of it.
The phrase I was looking for is imposter syndrome, right? It's, you don't feel quite good enough to put your things out there sometimes. And you're like, think about all the people that are actually seeing success and just never put their information out there. Or they never put, obviously there's something about putting too much out there, right? You don't want to give away your whole entire life story where someone can find you at your doorstep, right? It's kind of creepy, but there's something about the relatability factor and networking that social media has such a power these days, right? Like think about the time and energy it takes to go to a meetup in person. You got to drive there. I think about this as like from working a 9 to 5 in the office to being able to work at Virtue is like, you pack your lunch, you got to pack your gym bag, you got to go on the hour drive back and forth from work. But being able to do everything on Zoom, like I think about masterminds now, and I believe you're in a few of these, but like you're meeting people from all over the world that have similar yet different stories to you, but you're all focused on the same thing. And that's like bettering your life and investing through real estate, right? And you can pick little things that each person has done along the way and found success from, and then also learn from that person's mistakes. So hopefully you can scale quicker and you don't have to go through the slow motions of it. So it's just a way to scale your business. And I think social media is underrated. And if there's people listening, just start. Like that's the message, is like, just put it out there. We had no idea where we'd come in a year and a half.
And people reached out to us recently that were like, should I buy my first or second or third deal before I start social media? And I was like, no, like just go out and do it. Take a video of you driving down the street looking for homes. Like there's value in it. So
I want to parlay that to your story about Brandon Turner. And I know that I believe he caught wind of you from just posting on social media. I know you guys are, I guess you want to call it neighbors on the same island, right? But can you talk about the story you told us before we started recording about the property you purchased and how it connected with him? Then it obviously spiderwebbed into this huge network for you.
So the home that he was looking at is right next door to his wife's best friend's home. And the way that I even found out was because after I bought the home, I usually go to all the neighbors and I give them my card, let them know my contact information, just in case, there's anything happening, I have extra eyes on the home. And so the wife's best friend had called the wife, and then she had told Brandon, like, hey, do you know Zasha? She bought the home next door to my best friend. And he was like, oh my gosh, I've been looking at that home. I've been meaning to door knock. I've been meaning, to talk to that homeowner and buy the home. And so it just went to show the power of, I tease him because he has his book, right? Is how to invest in real estate. And that's one of the biggest tips he gives is the driving for dollars, door knocking. And so I had texted him, and then he was laughing about it. And it's from there, we just made a connection. And he also does come to a few of our Maui meetups here. And, super laid back guy, and all of the Bigger Pockets community, we just kind of have that natural connection. And because we're on an island, it's super laid back. So that helps too. When you can just show up in flip flops and surf shorts to a meeting.
I need some island living in my life. I feel like my mind could use a Maui mindset every now and then.
Yeah, a little high strung there, dude.
Some days.
But that's cool. I mean, imagine a meetup where there's millionaires walking around in the same room, but hey, you're in shorts and a t-shirt, and
love it.
It's just nice. A lot of people think you need to be buttoned up in a suit to be in the same room as certain types of people, right? And it's a nice little spin on it. I want to talk to you. I know we dove in on a bunch of your different strategies, right? And you said Burr right now is kind of your main focus. That's the most lucrative deals that I guess you found. Can you talk about the importance of running your numbers based on when you're analyzing deals based on a number of different exit strategies and the importance of that? The reason I bring this up is a lot of people, when they're running their numbers, especially in the beginning, they're just running them for the buy and hold. And they're like, okay, I'm going to run my income versus expenses, find my cash flow, and then I'm done. Can you talk about why that's very one layered?
So I always run the numbers to have multiple exit strategies, and the least amount being a flip, right, or a wholesale, and then the most being keeping as a rental. I think that's the best way to do it, is be the most conservative when you run your numbers. And then if you have to, then you can flip it or sell it, or, take a shorter term strategy. But I believe, I just believe so much in the burst strategy and recycling your money. That's the most lucrative way to invest in real estate in my point of view. And so if you only have one exit strategy and it doesn't work out, then you might lose money. So I always do, like I said, the worst case scenario and then the best, and choose from there.
What do you qualify as a good deal then? Like if you're looking for a deal, especially in your area, is the number one factor of what you're looking at that you have to be all in for 70% of the loan to value? Is that the number one? Is there any other factors that you look at that might just say, oh, the rental increases are happening faster in this market and we might be able to get X amount of rent? What are some factors that you look at when trying to identify a good deal?
Definitely for here, because the land is so expensive, if it can be a multi-unit property. So say it is, a lot of our homes are considered in a residential area, which can mean, depending on the lot size, it can have multiple units on, a typical residential area where you would see single family homes, but there can also be a few detached ohanas or ADUs. Yeah. And that's really the more income you can bring in, like in any case, the better cash flow you're going to get.
Very cool. So I know you mentioned earlier in the episode that your husband is a contractor, I believe on the plumbing side. Can you just talk about rehab costs and enforcing appreciation? I know we're kind of stuck on this deal, the $375,000 deal that ended up, going for potentially $850,000. Can you talk about at least a little bit in the weeds, right? Like how did you estimate your rehab costs to know that XYZ that you put into the property was going to increase the value? Like what did you do to essentially force this appreciation, and how can people potentially force appreciation in deals that they have?
Definitely having my husband as a contractor and then having those connections. And so over time, we have just built a crew who can work with us, give us, certain deals on things. Sometimes when I go searching for finished materials, I make sure to buy the things that are on sale that still look good. And that one that we bought was a burst. So it didn't have to be top of the line materials, as it had to be rental quality. But I think overall what brought the appreciation was just that we were able to turn it into 2 units. And initially it was just 1, but we added value that way. We added rooms, we added a bigger living space. We just updated everything and just brought the value up that way.
Yeah, that's a good point, Zasha. We don't talk about this a lot in our show, but I've mentioned in previous episodes that, and I think I probably learned this from Bigger Pockets, but if you find a property that's 1,000 square feet or larger, and it's listed as a 2-bedroom, there's always an opportunity to turn it into a 3-bed, right? And if there's a property that's, maybe 1,400 square feet or 1,500 square feet that's listed as a 3-bed, there's an opportunity to turn it into a 4-bed. And oftentimes properties are listed wrong. So doing the due diligence and going to see them and trying to dive a little bit deeper in can be the difference between you getting a deal with all this equity in it and putting up the walls, which cost essentially in the real estate world nothing comparative to how much money you're taking in debt service. If you're doing all these things and you're really looking at deals, if you find a 2-bed or a 1-bed that's listed at 800 square feet, that you can make this into a 2-bed. So I think that value add, not only adding value to what you have, but actually adding other units onto it is like such a home run way to create wealth. So
yeah, that's Felipe Mejia.
That's all he does.
He found a perfect niche in his, I guess,
Tennessee
market. Yep.
Yeah.
And essentially like I believe it's a garage that's built onto it. He turns it, or the basement, he turns into another complete unit and
I think he has a 3-unit with like a basement. No, I'm sorry, a 3-bedroom with a basement that he turns into a 6-bedroom or a 5-bedroom.
Oh, so he does.
Yeah. Exactly. So it's like, think about what you get for rents typically in our area. In our area for a 2-bed, you're probably getting like Now I'm not talking like A+ high end, but like a normal B class, you're probably getting like 15, 16. If you're doing a 3-bed, you're probably 2,000, 2,100. 4 beds, probably like 26. So it's like that extra $400 or $500 a month each is
per
just
room.
like
It basically goes up.
Yeah. So it's like having that same loan, a $300,000 loan, but instead of you're getting $2,000 a month in cash flow, you're getting $3,200 a month in cash flow. It just changes the whole game.
It's cool to like learn about people's the rental market in certain areas. So like the Tennessee area that Felipe,
I don't know what their market's like either.
he talked to us about it, and he's essentially there's a bunch of construction that goes on and off in this certain area, and essentially what he'll do is he'll let the construction workers come in, stay for about a year. Then when they recycle off a job, their buddies need a place, and he keeps refilling the unit over and over. Then we talked to Cam, who also lives. Cameron Lamb,
Yeah.
he with college students. He just essentially has friends live together. When one leaves, the next year they refill with another one. So it's almost like going through the tenant screening process, expediting the process where you don't have to go through all the motions over and over and to get a brand new tenant and vet them. And like you still do, but it's just a little bit quicker. So long-winded there, but I basically want to know, I'm very intrigued. Can you talk about the rental market on Maui? Like, what type of tenants are you getting in there? When I think of Maui, I honestly just think of vacation, and I'm like, oh, it's Hawaii, right? Like,
look at he's wearing his Hawaiian shirt today.
I wore a few. It's a little bit. I should have brought my actual flower shirt. It's all right, but we kind of match in the color scheme. But can you talk about the rental market in Maui? I'm thinking like, okay, short-term rentals would be sweet, right? Like, who wouldn't want to Airbnb that place for X amount of time? Or can you get year-long renters, and like, do they just come for a year to experience the beautiful place that it is? Or is it like a specific like worker that might go there? I know that's a lot going on, but I'm so intrigued if you could dive in there and let us know what you've.
My focus has really been the local community. So we are a big tourist-driven industry. However, because I grew up in, affordable housing, had to struggle, most of my renters are local. They are on Section 8 or HUD. So that's how I'm choosing to go about it. And I'm still making money. I'm still cash flowing on my end. But my end goal is really to make an impact because of where I came from and how I know how hard it is to live here and, just make it. A lot of people are struggling. So that's how I'm choosing to kind of give back. And knowing everything I know now, I just try to teach, people about financial literacy and investing in real estate, but also, helping the community at hand.
Awesome. Yeah. Very cool. And we have some Section 8 tenants, and they're our favorite and best tenants. So it's like we do feel like we're helping out somebody who just wants to call our place their home, and she takes care of it. So
yeah. And I don't want to like group these people, right? I don't know into like one thing, but I will say like
there's a stigma.
There is a stigma around it, but you get a check every month before the time you're supposed to get it, before the first. And
you've already gotten it for September.
Exactly. So you get, I believe ours is split almost in half, right? Like she's responsible for half, and then the HUD or Section 8 is responsible, sends us a check for the other half of the rent. And it's just, that's great to know that you're guaranteed a check for one side of it, but to know you're impacting someone's life and you're providing a home, and there's, they've at some point have struggled in their life, right? It is fulfilling. And I appreciate that. It's totally different than what I would think about Maui, right? Like, I'm just thinking, vacation. It's like, no, listen, like
that's what the other 49 states think. They think everyone's just vacationing there, but it's funny because it's like, I think I have this association with it too, that it's like but I know there's a lot of people that live there, and you just mentioned a lot of them do struggle. So I think it's admirable what you're doing.
There's a lot of different types of investors here too, right? And so that's my niche, and that's what I like to do. And I just want, like I said before, just to make that impact. And I also, the fact is people do have that stigma about people who have help. And just recently I had a girl who had lost her job during COVID. She applied for Catholic Charities. I had to wait an extra month, but they caught me up. So just providing her that option, a lot of landlords here don't, because they could go the short-term rental route. They could make a lot more money doing things that way. So I really see it in the renters, and you get to essentially vet them yourself. So they're going to be like anybody else, right? You got to do your due diligence. You have to do your background checks. You got to get a feel for who they are. And I still self-manage. So that makes it a little bit easier for me to tell, or I have a good feeling. I know you're not supposed to do it based on feeling, but if I see that person and know their story, I'm more likely to give them a chance than just push them away.
We want to talk about self-managing, right? And your systems, because you mentioned that you self-manage and that around that 9 unit mark is a place where we feel we're actually close to it. We have 7, where we're like at 10 or maybe 15. It's like, we're going to hand this over because it takes up a lot of time and we know what we're good at. And one of the things we want to be really good at is finding new deals, maybe, private money lending and just expanding our portfolio as opposed to, working on the day-to-day task. So what are some systems that you have in place for your self-managing? Because you do it full time and 9 units can, if you don't do it right, it can take up all of your time. So what are you doing to mitigate that?
Right now, I use TurboTenant, and every renter that moves in, they kind of use the online platform to make their rental payments, to keep track, to really give me any updates on if they need any maintenance done. So it's actually not that time consuming for me. It's just, more so the end of the month or the beginning of the month, there is a few hours in, but because we fully renovate the properties, there's not much maintenance that's needed right now.
Cool. How do you handle maintenance requests in general? Are they sending you an email? Are they texting you, or are they using TurboTenant to send this automatically? I'm not sure exactly how that system works.
Yeah. So for that one, they just send me a message and then it alerts my phone. And then from there, which we just determine, I'll either message them back and say, hey, can you wait till Monday? Or is this really an emergency? We can handle it if it is. However, just be mindful that, it is taking away from our time if we have to go there right now. And so usually because I'm so upfront about it, people understand and they're courteous. And that goes back to, vetting the tenants, making sure they know from the get-go, I'm not a big corporation. It's just me and my husband. So take that into consideration when there's anything when it comes to, not making your rent payments or calling me for miscellaneous things that aren't really a maintenance request. Is that, it'll directly affect me and my family. And so that's how I approach it. And people are usually respect that.
Having that business mindset about how you want to run your business and not allowing, even though you are obviously a really good person and you do like your tenants, but not having them run your business is really key. We had tenants who have talking about, tiny little things like light bulbs and this and that. And Ryan and I recently said, look, this is what our expectations are. These are what you can expect of us. And as soon as we laid that groundwork down, our tenants were like, oh, okay, I understand this. You're not a babysitter, right? So it's important to have that upfront communication and continuously kind of drive home that this is a business for you and this is how you want to run it. And I've found that, similar to you, that's how it works better for us.
Yeah, I think when you specifically, Corey brought up in the conversation that I guess you would call it a difficult conversation you have to have with tenant, basically to relay the ground rules. After we already did it, we went through the lease, we already went through the rules and regulations and our office hours, et cetera. And I think they were just so excited to get in the property that they just didn't listen to a word we said when we were there. And they're like, okay, we'll sign. And then all good. And then we're getting blasted with texts Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday at 6, 7 a.m. And we're like, oh my God, we created a monster. What do we do? And so I mentioned this in a previous episode, but it was really funny. We were crafting these texts to send back. And I'm like, dude, we sound like we're in 5th, 6th grade. He's like, right, let's just get on a phone call with her. And it was the easiest thing we did. Much easier conversation than we thought we were gonna have, but it was laying the foundation on saying, hey, just to reiterate, it's in the lease that we discussed again. XYZ is when we can
last week.
We did change that. We'll, instead of texting, we're going to go via email because it gives you a little bit more lag time to get back to them and formulate your thoughts. And what Corey did during the conversation, which I thought was awesome, was connecting and saying hey, listen, though we value our property and value you as a tenant, please keep in mind, we do have families and lives outside of our businesses. And that's why we put together these office hours, and just connecting it like that and knowing that they have a family too. They were like, oh, it was like a light bulb went off in there. Like, okay, sorry about that. Won't happen again. And then, we did get the 7 a.m. email. It wasn't text. So it's just a little bit more smooth for us. But all in all, I think bringing it up because sometimes those conversations are so daunting to have. And once you actually have them, they go a lot smoother. And you just got to, real estate's once again, people business, right? Like once you connect it to like the human side, people start to understand it. Obviously, I think it doesn't go that smooth for everyone. You hear about evictions, people not leaving the property. Knock on wood, haven't had to experience it yet. We will eventually. It's going to happen, right? So that was cool to bring up. I also wanted to bring this around too. Is like we know you're a mother, and I think there's a lot of people that are listening that have families, want to start a family, and they're like, "Whoa, I have a job too. There's no way I can invest in real estate and have my job and provide for my kids and watch my kids." Like, how do you specifically manage the hardest and most important job, I'll say, of being a mom and everything else they have going on?
So right now, I typically, when my kids are around, I try to spend as much time with them. In the beginning, it was rough because, like I said, I was working my full-time job. Weekends, nights, I would go, work on the condo or make sure everything was going smoothly at our projects, and my husband would be home at the kids. So it's definitely the benefit of having a great partner and somebody who has the same goals as you do, so that you're on the same team and you can kind of tag team. But now I definitely like to balance my time and set specific times of when I'm working on just real estate, or if I have to take phone calls, I make sure that either my husband is with the kids or they're still getting the attention that they need, right? Because what is the whole point of doing all of this if it's taking away time from your family? And I feel like that is one of the most important things for a lot of people to realize is, you can make all this money and do all these things if you don't have the systems, processes in place, if you're not trying to partner or scale in a way that, alleviates you from having a job. Cool. Then, yeah.
Yeah, I love that too. And previously you mentioned about, we kind of glossed over it. We didn't talk about it. You said that you made $100K on your first flip. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. But I want to talk about your most lucrative deal kind of next. Maybe you can talk about that one, because we always like to share kind of the ins and outs and kind of the inside scoop of like what it's like to be a real estate investor, and making $100,000 is like, on one deal is crazy. You can talk about this one, or you can talk about a different one. Can you give us maybe some details on your most lucrative deal? Kind of how you found it, maybe some tactics that you took along the way, and then just the result of it.
My most lucrative deal was a novation project. So definitely using creative financing more recently in how I attain deals. So what happened was the sellers, I got referred to me from a friend. They were going through some financial hardships and had reached out to their friend, who then referred them to me. But they really wanted to bring the house back to life. They didn't have the money to do it. So they figured, hey, why don't we partner? They actually brought the idea to me and asked me, hey, if you bring the renovation money, is there a way we can partner on this deal? And I said, okay, let me run my numbers. This would be the cash offer. This would be if we partner. And so they got more if we partnered, because one, I wouldn't have to worry about taking out a huge loan for the purchase price. And two, they would be able to keep their loan in place, keep all the utilities. Like there's a lot of legwork that it would keep me from doing. So we agreed to partner and went through that deal through the title company. I brought the renovation funds, which again, a little over 200,000. We had an agreement for me to buy the home at 450. And then once we sold it, we just sold it actually a couple of weeks ago for 975. And then we split the profit from there.
Wow.
Recap us on that.
Yeah. So let me just make sure I heard this correctly.
Sorry, that was a lot to go into.
No, that was great. 450. You put 200 into it. So you're all in for 650, correct?
Yeah.
And then you sold it for 950?
975.
975. So that means you split 325.
Well, after all the closing costs and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Closing. So, but still you're splitting, if you do
300 plus.
Yeah. Or three. Yeah. What was the actual number that you split? I guess around $300,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
another 150,000. Boom. So awesome. You got $150,000 on the first deal with her mom.
100 grand.
Wasn't
oh
it?
yeah.
No,
150 grand with your mom.
Wasn't it 150 grand each? So that's what got her in. And then 100 grand on a flip.
Then 150,
which was like, wow, I make 70 a year, but now I got 101 deal and it only took me 45 days. That's amazing. And then look at this one, another 150K. If you did it by yourself, it'd be
in a place called Maui where there's no deals. So
yeah, there's no deals. It's way too expensive. No one can invest there, man.
This is awesome.
It's incredible.
I think it gives people hope and kind of just like a background that, like, if you're doing this, Zasha, if you're doing this in Maui, I've talked to people who live maybe Jersey City or New York, and I've talked to people who live outside of San Francisco or LA, and they're like, I don't know what to do. I can't, and I know it's possible. I just don't know their markets. But now we're learning about yours, so maybe they should talk to somebody like you.
Yeah, and I think it's important when we talk about these numbers, and you're talking about 200, 350, 750, 900,000. Like, people don't. If you're not into real estate investing all the time, you're thinking that you need to have all this money, and you don't. It, like, realistically, you can get into real estate investing with little to none of your own money, right? Like, if you educate yourself on creative financing or how to create and put a deal together, right? And bring in outside investors. There's hard money lenders, private money lenders. You can get a mortgage, right? If you're going to live in the property, between 3 and 5% down, depending on what strategy you use. There's so many different ways to look at things, which is exciting. And I think that if more people knew about that, it would maybe not deter them so much and be like, oh, okay, this is not for me. I can't do this. And I think it's important that's why we share stories like yours and ours and all of our other guests. It's like, you have to start somewhere, right? Like, you had to get in somewhere, and you have had, I wouldn't call it luck. You've put yourself in the position, but those are very lucrative deals, all of them. And 100 plus on 3 deals is like, it's unheard of in a lot of places. So we appreciate you telling us about that. And I think it's the
power of real estate and the appreciation, the kind of like cycle that we're in right now. So you're riding a good wave, and like, hopefully it continues. And, I know people that have bought property in, I don't know, just even in other places that aren't as booming, but like North Carolina, they bought a property for $300,000 and a year later it's worth $420,000. And it's like, it's just, we're in a great wave. And I think you're taking full advantage of it. So that's very cool.
Yeah, it's important. I think it's great. And
I think too, in an expensive market, you have to get creative. Right? The deals aren't just going to be laying around like they are in some other states. And of course, here you kind of have to make it worth it because it is so expensive. So recently too, I've been partnering and just making less, but also getting more deals because now I'm able to scale and do more with other people.
So I have basically, because I think a lot of people are going to be motivated when they hear this, right? Like, we're all of us are under 10 units, right? But you're talking big money in some of these deals, right? Can you talk, basically I'm just looking for advice for someone that's interested in real estate investing, but they haven't started yet. Where do you suggest they start on their journey? And then how do they get into their first deal? Like, what would you recommend knowing what you know now?
I would recommend definitely going to a meetup. I mean, I know a lot of them are now on Zoom, but the more you network, the more opportunities and doors you open for yourself. And then from there, you can offer to, follow around an experienced investor or add value to them and say, hey, I'll go door knock all these doors, or, do something that will help them along their journey and follow them through that. And I think learning through experience is probably the best thing that you can do starting off.
Couldn't agree more. We've run the numbers a million times. We've read books a million times, and Tim Brott said this, and I believe it's the week before your episode comes out. He's like, dude, I can't tell you this. You need to go do it yourself and go through the motions. And you're going to, trust me, you're going to learn every step of this process for me to explain it to you in 5 minutes, I can, but for you to actually live it and go through it and like go through the hoops and have to wait and then lean on someone else and use your resources and fail. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how you learn. That's how you do it. And once you do it once, everything else becomes so much easier. And then you go do the harder thing. Then that thing becomes easier. So it's climbing that ladder. And I think starting with surrounding yourself with people that have done it before you and seen success is super important. Right. And then almost just having them guide you through it. I know that's kind of crazy, but the experience in person is so much more than you'll learn in a book if they're going through the motion. So appreciate you kind of walking us through that too, because we've seen the same exact thing. Yep. But we finally made it to the core four.
We have.
Well, second last segment of the show. You ready for these? So we'll start it off easy. The first question in the core four is, what's your favorite investing or business book that has motivated you or helped you along your investing journey?
Definitely Atomic Habits, I think by James Clear. And just the importance of just doing the same thing over and over, even though you might not see the results, it's just continuing to have that habit and eventually everything will work out. It just, that whole mindset and, the power of just focusing every day and putting in that work, that has changed a lot for me.
Second question. If you had an additional $50,000 of discretionary income, how would you use it?
I would definitely buy another rental or invest in something that will give me long-term wealth.
Would you do that for the cash flow play or the appreciation play? How do you specifically tailor your deals?
Well, here I try to achieve both. It's not too hard if the deal makes sense, but definitely cash flow.
Sorry, this is question 2B. What is your cash flow number that you look for on each deal? I don't think we asked you this earlier. Is there a set number you won't go below?
I typically look for $500 per month net. So I achieve usually between $500 to $1,000. I
love your style because I hear $200 and $250. I'm like, I'm out. I don't care about that. That does not motivate me. Yeah. I can make $200 like that I work in sales. So it's like, okay, I'll sell something else or do something. And it doesn't get me that excited, but 500 to 1,000, now you're talking my language. And I know it's hard to do, right? But they're out there and clearly if
you're adding bedrooms and stuff, it becomes a lot more easy to find those types of deals as opposed to just going out and not putting any money into a deal. That it's really hard to find.
Yeah.
Something that cash flows like that. And the best part about it is in 12, 13, 17, 21 years, that cash flow number is going to be astronomically higher than 500 to 1,000 or even 200 to 500. And you're paying down your debt. The property has most likely appreciated, all the tax benefits. We don't have to go through it. We love it.
I love it. I'm gonna put it this way. $200 doesn't do that much for me, but let's just go specifically to $500. And I've written about this in so many posts on our graphics. So check out at Weekly Juice Pod for these posts. But I'll explain it on the show if you haven't read these. But like $500 a month fully funds your Roth IRA for a year. That's one of the most incredible investment vehicles you can use to generate wealth over time and have your money compound on top of each other. So getting a property that gives you $500 and then you can pay off one of your bills and then use your other income of $500 to fund that IRA, because you can't use rental income. I learned that you can't the other day. So, but it just, to me, I'm like, wow, that's like a big thing that I can pump. $200 is like, okay. A nice car is I don't know these days, between $400 and $600 per month.
You want that Tesla, which I do. Go get a property that is, $500 a month that'll pay for your car payment or whatever.
So I'm passionate about that.
Yeah.
You're right, dude. You're going to get that Tesla.
Oh yeah. I'm just not going to, it's going to be cash. Has to be
done.
Yeah. Soon.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's dying for that Tesla. But okay. Third question on the core four is, what has been your biggest mistake that you've made along your investing journey and career? And essentially how have you learned from it so that someone else won't make the same mistake?
Definitely not asking for help sooner and not putting the money into self-educating myself. Like I said, when I started, I had that mindset of, oh shoot, I got to figure this all out on my own. Like nobody has ever done this before. I have no idea what to do. But as soon as I, got a mentor and started surrounding myself by other investors, it just took off. So definitely don't be scared to ask for help or reach out to people. There's so many people now that you can get a hold of on social media or on the internet that will more than likely help you or point you in the right direction.
You're so on point with that. I think a lot of people, at this point, I'm just going to break it down to pure laziness, because it's so easy to fire off a DM to someone and just like, if they're doing something you want to do, it's worth a shot. Maybe they reply, maybe they don't. We reply to every single one of our DMs. I'm sure you do the same. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where if you can help someone out, do it, because coming into this game a couple of years back, we were like, I don't know if there's enough real estate in the world for me. Like, I don't know if people are going to want to teach me. They're going to want to kind of hide the deal for them, right? I'm going to be taking money out of their pocket. That's how I always thought. And every single investor I've talked to has been the complete opposite. And they've wanted to help and almost teach and give back from what they've learned. Like, don't do this because I did this and it was horrible. And it's like, for some reason, I guess there's like a quote saying, it's like the guy that's like 5 steps ahead of you will never look back and laugh at you. It's always the guy below you that's going to laugh at you and make a comment and criticize you for doing something. And it's come full circle for us. And it's truly like everyone we've looked up to or talked to, 95% of them have wanted to help and said, hey, dude, whatever I can do.
Absolutely. And I think I learned this from Gary Vee. He was relating it to like somebody wanting to be like a music artist or a music producer. And he said, right now, go DM, 200 producers or 200 artists and say you'll work for free, or you'll give them, some value for free. And it's the same in the real estate investing game. You have to be relatable. You can't be transactional about it. But if you were to, and this is advice to anybody listening to the show, DM 200 accounts, of people that you want to be like, or you want to get in touch with, and try to find ways to create value for them. And I know that sounds like daunting, but like there are so many ways that you can create value by, I don't know, helping somebody with bookkeeping or trying to bring somebody a deal. Those are just 2 examples. If you do that, 200 people, I promise you, with the way the world works today, especially on social media, you're going to get 42 that reply. And then you're going to be able to decide between 27 people that want to potentially help you out in some way, in some sort of informal mentorship. So boom.
Fire. That was awesome. Dude, I think about just little things in our, like we're talking about social, right? Like you find someone that is amazing at real estate, but maybe doesn't have a great social profile, but you're amazing at graphic design.
Yes.
Hey dude, let me help run your social, or I'll send you some graphic ideas, cut some clips for you, pump it out. Something so little. We had a couple of real estate agents and some other investors that are like, we really like your stuff. Like, can you throw us a guy? And we're like, well, we have one of our best friends that does it and he's part of our business, but we can see if he has a guy. And then it's just, you pass someone along and it's that free game. The person you're hooking up is a real estate investor that's successful. They're going to show you the ropes. You're already providing value for something that they know nothing about, and they're going to provide you their expertise on something that you know nothing about. It's just bartering, right? In relationships, again, over and over. I know we're kind of beating a dead horse here, but I love it. I was trying to think of like things to relate it to for us, because we've been, there's so many things going on in the day. You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah, nor do you want to.
Right. So the last question of the core 4 is, this is a thinker. It's a personal one, but we're wondering what you want your legacy to be. Like, why are you doing all this, and what gets you out of bed every morning?
Definitely to make an impact on the world, to make an impact on my community, to change the idea that you have to be rich to invest or money changes somebody. It really doesn't. It just gives you a vehicle to give back to people if that's what you choose to do it with it. So
awesome. Great answer. So we've made it to the last drop. And in the last drop, we want to know if you could go back in time to, I don't know, maybe 20-year-old Zasha, what advice, or even younger potentially, what advice would you give your younger self and why?
Definitely travel more often, especially because now we have our rental properties, we have our family. We're not able to do a lot. Well, now with coronavirus, it's harder, but I definitely wish I would have seen more of the world to get perspective on what my real passion is, and just to open my eyes to everything. It's, mindset has really become a huge thing that I've come to realize as well. Law of attraction, putting your intentions out there. It really has made a difference in my life.
I love that. I did a trip right after I graduated college. I had never been too far, right? We had done a couple of trips to like Mexico or the Caribbean, like warm weather, but still pretty close to the United States. And then I did a trip to Iceland with some of my buddies, and it changed my whole perspective on the world. I'm like, this place exists. I felt like I was in a different planet some days. The climate out there is really cool. Like one day it was raining, one day it was snowing, one day it was a perfect sunny summer day. We were on a beach, and we had so many different things we saw there. And I felt like my life flashed before my eyes. I'm like, I can't even believe I was just sitting at my cubicle 9 to 5 for however many years, right after I graduated, but this was like 2 years into my actual job. And I'm like, I spent all these waking days doing this. And then this is out here. It blew my mind. And I got what they call the travel bug, right? So then we saw London and Paris. Then we went to Greece and Italy. Like, it's just, you force yourself these places. I'm not saying this to like, oh yeah, I've traveled the world. It's like, no, like set these up for things to look forward to. Because once you see something, like for me now, that's one of my big things. It's like, hey, I just want to see everything I possibly can before I'm done here. And you're right. It gives you perspective. Like you could be, you always think these places are the most beautiful places in the world, but there's always these little pockets of people that are still struggling too. And I don't know. I don't.
It's kind of why we invest in real estate in general too, right? To create that freedom to be able to go do and travel. And I bet that those 9 units that you're talking about, if they're turned into 20 or whatever number that you're trying to get to, you're going to have that freedom come back to you again, where you'll be able to go travel. So I think it's one of the whole reasons why Philadelphia can't be can't be it. It's just a part of my life. So like, why not create this financial and time freedom so that we can go travel to Maui?
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to keep bringing this up and want to keep talking about it because I know we're wrapping up the show, but I have a buddy that he's never left. He's only been to like 3 states. He's like been 2 states. I'm like, dude, holy crap. You haven't even thought about going anywhere. And it's just like, some people haven't been as fortunate or don't care as much, or their horizons were not broadened to go see something. And they're like, I'm good doing this. And it just, I guess once you see it, you got to do it. And that's part of our whys, right? It's time freedom and being able to explore this place a little bit more and do what you want when you want. But with that, I guess that kind of wraps us up here.
Yeah, Zasha, this was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. We'd love to hear about all these lucrative deals you're doing in Maui, creating relationships. Love watching your social media. In fact, if people want to learn more about you and they want to maybe reach out to you and network, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Instagram is my most used platform at Invest with Zasha. I definitely make it a point to answer DMs, messages when I can, and just share my life and what I'm doing to inspire others. And especially if you have a lot going on or you're currently stuck in your job and it isn't it, or you want to get into real estate, just keeping that momentum, it really makes a difference when you're watching other people do it.
Couldn't agree more. I love your content on social. You walk through some flips, some renovations, just benefits of investing in real estate. So make sure you go follow Invest with Zasha. You can connect with her there if you love the episode and want to get to know her a little bit more. So
thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Zasha.